Hello, fight fans. Seattle Mike Fights with Friends here. Everybody, please hit that like button, or I will tell Kevin Holland to sit next to you the next time you go to the movie theater. If you're not subscribed, hit that subscribe button. Make sure and take care of that now. Don't forget to ring the bell so you're notified whenever I drop a new video or go live, like this doubleheader weekend, the return of PFL on Friday and UFC 261, Usman versus Masvidal on Saturday. Guys, I did not think that I would be making Logan Paul, Jake Paul, anybody Paul videos a month ago. And then they drug the MMA community into it. Ben Askren, kind of tried to sell himself as this guy that was going to go in there and give Paul his first loss in boxing. He's only had a few matches so far. And, he's basically fought joke fighters, fought a retired basketball player. And then Ben Askren fought a guy that, he couldn't strike when he was in MMA. He definitely can't strike now that he only has one of his original hips. But a lot of people asked, did Ben Askren throw that fight? And when you start to look at it, there's a lot of things that say yes. A horrible game plan. He just didn't do what we thought he was going to do. What I thought Ben Askren was going to do, would have to do to get a win, is to just basically run around the ring, and I thought he would really make a circus out of it for about 2 or 3 rounds, tying Paul up, hanging on his neck, dodging punches where he can, maybe even getting a takedown, not worrying about if he loses a point on that, or maybe, get a warning. But I really did not expect him to engage. What we've seen instead was similar to what Peter McNeely did against Mike Tyson, which was a famously criticized match for people saying that Peter McNeely threw that fight, that he owed money to the mob, that if he got knocked out in the first round, he could clear his debt. Despite everything we've seen, I do not think Ben Askren threw that fight in the conventional sense anyways. Do I think Ben Askren maybe came out there with a lazy game plan? Yes. Do I think maybe he went out there with a style that he knew could get him knocked out in the first round? Absolutely. But I do believe that maybe Ben thought he could also catch Jake in that first round. So he went out there with the style that I expected Jake Paul to go out with, and I think pretty much everybody did. Everybody thought Paul was going to come out like a bull. He was going to come out aggressively and chase Askren, and Askren, would be running and playing the matador. It was kind of the other way around earlier. It was really strange. Askren was chasing Paul. So in the conventional way, did Askren throw the fight? If you're asking me, I would say no on a legality. I don't think Askren's going to be going to jail anytime soon. But did he pull the wool over all of our eyes? Yes. And he left with $500,000 and came in with just a horrible game plan that, he really didn't seem to take winning seriously. That out of the way, we say, who is next for Jake Paul? Because this guy's not going away. As horrible as a lot of us thought that Triller Fight Club, Fight Cast, whatever you want to call it, was on pay-per-view, with the concerts and different things going on, it reportedly drew 1.3 million pay-per-view buys, making $75 million, making Jake Paul the biggest pay-per-view star in the world outside of Conor McGregor and Floyd Mayweather, which brother Logan Paul is rumored to be making a match with Floyd Mayweather as we speak. But who should Jake Paul fight next? Who do we want to see him fight next? And who will he most likely fight next? Let's go over those scenarios. Who do we want to see him fight next? I've seen people, they want to see him fight Francis Ngannou. That's not going to happen. But who is he likely to fight next? Well, Dana White recently threatened to sue Triller and Jake Paul for trying to poach his UFC fighters. He said, you don't have the right to talk to them about fight negotiations, fighters that are on contract, and I'm going to sue you if you don't cease and desist. One of these, which was really strange, was this is boxing for one thing. It's not MMA. And another thing, Dana came out and said this, when Jake Paul challenged Daniel Cormier, which I found very strange because Daniel Cormier is retired from MMA. It doesn't look like he has any incentive to go back to MMA. But, he could go in there and fight Jake Paul and probably make $1 million. Easy, especially since the last pay-per-view made $75 million. I don't think that fight is very likely to happen. I think Jake Paul is just trying to get attention. I don't think he really wants to take that fight either. Another name that's been thrown out there, which is, one of the guys that he probably should fight, is former welterweight champion Tyron Woodley, who's on a 4-fight skid, but showed he could still punch and take a few punches, but definitely his chin is not what it used to be in that last fight against Vicente Luque. I think that fight would sell well. I think it probably does 1.5. Honestly, I think that would be a great fight. It sounds like Dana is really going to try to make sure that those kind of fights don't happen. In the future, though, Dylan Dennis called him out. This is a guy that's maybe, a slightly better striker than Ben Askren. I really don't take that seriously. It's a fight that could end up happening because, Paul, he's got a brilliant financial game plan. It's call out names that don't know how to strike or are past their prime, build this record, and sell 1 million pay-per-views every time. And it looks like he can do it flawlessly as long as he keeps winning. Another guy who called him out, and I could see this match going down, is 42-year-old BJ Penn. BJ Penn, despite, competing not too long ago, maybe a couple years ago, I don't think has won a fight since George W. Bush was in office, or very close to that. I know a lot of people do not want to see BJ Penn take that fight. BJ Penn called him out on Twitter, though, said, I'm going to knock this mother out. I'll tell you the fight that I want to see, a guy that's challenged him and he has not responded. Jake Paul has not responded, so that tells me he probably doesn't want that fight. And that is Chris the Cripper Lieben. I think this is a good match. Chris is going to come in about the same weight. Jake Paul weighed in 191.5. For the last fight, Chris Lieben, he's right around there, just fought his last official fight. He said his retirement fight against another hard puncher over there in BKFC, showed that chin off, walked through a lot of hard punches and got the first round knockout and seemingly sailed into the sunset. But he said, you want to put another zero on the end of my paycheck, I'll get in there with Jake Paul. Absolutely no answer from the Paul camp. And Lieben, he's got a legendary chin. He's still got the power. That's the fight that I want to see. If I'm going to pay another $50, I want to know what you guys think, though. Would you pay to see Jake Paul fight again? Who do you think he should fight next? Who do you think he probably will fight next? I think Dylan Dennis and BJ Penn, unfortunately, are probably pretty good candidates to get that payday. But Lieben, he's not on contract with the UFC anymore, was able to fight in BKFC and retired, so I see no issues with that fight going forward. Like I said, UFC fighters, it looks like they are probably out of the Jake Paul, Logan Paul sweepstakes for the moment via Dana White. Hey, Dana, maybe you should pay your fighters so they don't have to go over to Triller and fight some YouTuber to make enough money to go on with their career. So, maybe, take some credit on that. And but while you're at it, go pay John Jones, because we want to see John Jones versus Francis Ngannou. I say 15 to 20 million. Guys, as always, I love you. I respect you. And I'll see your fine asses next time.